Hey, Rebecca here. So happy spring. Welcome to my new business series. This is week one of about 7 weeks over the next couple of months of process. And I wanted to come to you live and do this particular series because as I travel the country and talk to women and men and different, people in different spheres of their particular career, I'm finding more and more people are taking the plunge to start their own business, and the desire to reinvent from becoming an entrepreneur is been more and more prevalent. And just last week I was in Claiborne, Texas, a small little town between Austin and Dallas. And I did there an annual women's leadership luncheon with some women there from the Chamber of Commerce. And after the luncheon, I had one woman come up to me who had been to 3 of my events. And she said, "I finally did it, Rebecca. You inspired me to start my business. And I am in several months of having my own business because of your story and because of the inspiration that it was for me to really believe in myself and branch out." So through that process, I learned that, it's an incredible thing to be able to reinvent yourself from being an employee to an entrepreneur. There are so many different things that happen when you engage in starting your own business, and I'll be talking today about what some of those benefits are. So this is week one. We will be here for 7 weeks. I will put out the schedule on my Facebook page, so you want to like and follow to stay up with the schedule. It'll be 20 minutes every time, and I'm super excited to come to you with our first week. I'm thrilled to talk to you today about that reinvention process. So I want to share what it took to pivot. But before we talk about the pivot, I think it's important to know some stats of what's going on with business and entrepreneurs in America. So this is from 2022 census data. Over 4.5 million businesses each year in America are started by people that branch out and become entrepreneurs. The sad statistic is out of those 4.5 million growth in new businesses, only 25% of these businesses actually stay in business and succeed post 5 and 10 years of trying. There are 3 reasons that businesses fail. The top reasons that they fail, there are 5 total, but the 3 top reasons is there's no formal plan. Number 1, there's no business plan, there's no plan. People just have a passion, they go out and they get started, and then they find there's no kind of line of sight for a roadmap. And then also, there's no real investigation of what the need for the market is. It's important to know your market. We'll be talking about that in several weeks from now when we talk about branding and marketing. Also, the third reason is sustainable funding beyond just, a couple of months or a year. They either can't sustain because there's no funding, or they run out of money and they're not able to continue. And these are reasons that are viable and important. And so we don't want to be afraid of these reasons and have them derail our plan, but we do want to be aware, and we want to plan, and we want to prepare so that we are well prepared to not run into these barriers and become successful. I have been in business now 13 years. Actually, next month will be my 13th year in business as a consulting firm. I started the business in 2011, and I have been super blessed with an incredible team. I will be talking each step of the way in these weeks about my own personal journey and story, and sharing with you what I've learned along the way. But it's important for us to understand what's going to cause us to fail so that we don't make those mistakes. And I'm going to be sharing a ton of lessons that I've learned in my own business along the way. So a key factor to pivot is knowing and recognizing what it takes, first of all, to be an entrepreneur. I want to give you what I call 5 core skills of what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And these are my personal core skills that I've developed with my own journey that I have found to be true and rang true in my life. Number 1, grit and resolve, the ability to not take no for an answer and not give up. Number 2, expertise. Do you bring expertise? Do you have a product, a service, or something you bring to the table that is unique, that can differentiate you from the marketplace? And then honing in on that expertise and being known as an expert in your field so that people want to secure you for business. Number 3, drive and hunger. My goodness, I have so much drive and so much hunger to be my own boss and pave my own journey. And I think that drive and hunger is innate in a lot of humans and a lot of people. And it just really takes honing in on that drive and hunger and really having the hard work ethic to really stay the course and work really hard. It reminds me of something my boss, when I was in government, said, there's nobody that works harder than Rebecca. She'll work her way around everything. And, you have to work hard and you have to have that ethic. And the reality is, if you are an 8 to 5 person, Monday through Friday, and you don't like to work after that, then you're probably not cut to be an entrepreneur. Most of us that are in business know it takes a lot of work and usually longer hours than just an 8 to 5. And so that hunger and drive. Number 4, the ability to engage others in your vision and get them to buy in to support your business from a customer base and also from a team base, and making sure that people stay the course with you if you have the ability to really get them to come alongside you. And it is a very tough thing to get people to stay with you, but if you get them to stay with you, come alongside you, you will be successful as an entrepreneur, as a CEO. So I like to do research, and I like to, I'm a data-driven consultant and CEO, so I like to have data. I wanted to share with you, there's a really cool point of research and data around business and entrepreneurship that I use called liveplan.com. And they've identified in their research 7 and 8 outcomes that drive your own business in terms of being successful. And I have found that these 7 outcomes of becoming and reinventing yourself from employee to entrepreneur are true and blue in my own journey. Number 1, the freedom to pursue your passion. Freedom to do whatever it is you feel you're called to do on this earth, and that is make money and stay in business and serve people in certain, capabilities. And maybe it's a product, maybe it's a service, but that freedom and passion is important. Number 2 from live.com is it creates generational wealth. It creates flexibility and financial freedom that you won't have working a 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 job and clocking in and clocking out. You can, as I did in my own government career, you can climb to certain levels of success and make good money to provide for you and your family, but you will only create generational wealth by being an entrepreneur, and it's something I have found to be true in my life. The third thing is it gives you the ability to support community and impact community, because guess what? When you have generational wealth, you can give back. You can invest more. You can be a part of community service. And again, this is from liveplan.com and their research. Number 4, it's an opportunity to turn a side project into meaningful work in your career. If you have a side project, a side gig, a passion, and you decide, I'm going to start my business and really take this all the way, it gives you the opportunity to do that. Number 5, it challenges the status quo. How I love to do that. Challenge the status quo. Number 6, it gives you flexibility and balance in life. And lastly, you get to be your own boss. Nobody gets to boss you around. And that doesn't mean that I don't like to take orders. I'm definitely a good soldier and have been my whole career, but it does give me the ability to be my own boss. And being the boss of you when you wake up every morning is a beautiful thing. So those are the 7 and 8 outcomes from liveplan.com that they have identified in their research that are benefits of being an entrepreneur. So I want to move into a key factor in becoming an entrepreneur. For my own journey, it's been my ability to embrace risk. If you are risk adverse and you don't like to take risks, you probably will not thrive in business. There are so many risks that you have to take. I remember when I worked for President Bush in the White House and I met with one of the top billionaires. He had started Anheuser-Busch brewery and owned a lot of the McDonald's meat factories. And anyway, I kind of had a chance to pick his brain. I met him through, you know, the network. And I said to him, I said, Mr. Reyes, what? And he was like in his 80s at the time, so he's since passed away, but he was on Forbes and on very successful. I said, Mr. Reyes, what is the biggest thing that you think I need in order to be an entrepreneur? Like, I'd like to start my own business. He said to me, Mija, you got to be willing to lose money before you make money. And he said, I've lost a lot of money. So if you're not a risk taker, business is not for you. And listen, I'm in that same boat. I've lost a lot of money, but I've also made a lot of money. So the risk adverse quality is super essential in being an entrepreneur. When I left my W-2 very successful career, I had worked almost 12, 15 years in government, and then I joined a small boutique consulting firm that hired me as an employee of the firm. I had a 401k match, I had great benefits, I was making the most money I had ever made in my salary, you know, above 6 figures. I thought, wow, I have landed, I'm good. And then all of a sudden, I had this idea that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And several of my mentors said, you know, Rebecca, what you're doing for that company, you could be doing for yourself. You're really helping them grow their bottom line. And in that period that I was there, for that 6-year period of being with that company, I brought in over $7 million in business. And when I shared that with my mentor, and he said, you know, you could do that for yourself. You could go into and start your own consulting business. I never thought of that. And God forbid I leave my high-paying job with my 401k match and my benefit package and all the things that I had worked so hard in my career to get. But it was a risk, and I didn't make that risk easily. I didn't make that decision easily. It was very deliberate. It was very thought out. It was through a lot of counsel and a lot of people really speaking into my life and seeking that counsel. But it took me about a year before I made that decision to branch out and leave and start my own business. But I did it over a process of a lot of really good insight. So there are several things that I did before I branched out. In my plan, again, I talked about the importance of planning. Number one, I ensured my partner, my life partner, which is my husband, your significant other, whoever it is you're doing life with, was on board. I didn't want to start a business, leave a really high-paying job with great benefits and all of that if he wasn't on board. And I knew it would take a lot of work of my time. In my case, I was commuting from Austin to Washington every other week, a huge commute, gone from the family. Our son was like in, I think 4th or 5th grade. Our daughter was in high school. And, you know, it would take my husband, my partner, to say, yeah, let's do it, and I'll support you and however I can, and we'll work together, right? Because you need a team. Hey, listen, we don't get anywhere by ourselves. I'll be talking about that later. But he had to be on board, and I knew that if he wasn't on board, I would not be successful. Number two, I found a business partner. In my business, I knew I needed a business partner. I had a really strong HR background. I wanted to start a company that also brought technology to the table because technology is booming. And I didn't know anything about technology, so I had to find a partner that did. And so I found a partner, and he's my minority share partner in DC who had a technology background. And I thought, I'm going to team, I'm going to partner. So partnership was a big factor for me. Number three, I had to have some money, right? Because I wasn't going to leave my high-paying job with benefits and all of that if I didn't have at least what I call the bare minimum to live. My husband and I sat down, we did our bills, and like, okay, what do we need to live? We're going to cut out eating, we're going to cut out travel, we're going to cut out all these expenses, we're not going to spend any money. What do we need at minimum to pay our bills? And we came out with that number, and that's the number that I needed as what I call financing in order to get started, because I knew it would take me about 6 to 8 months to win my first project. So I had to do the finance. I had to have the finances in place. Listen, if you don't have the finances in place to at least cushion yourself for 6 months, so that if your business does not generate any money for 6 to 12 months, you're not okay. Don't leave your job. I mean, you know, you may want to straddle. Maybe you reduce your job to part-time so you can do the business part-time until you have that cushion, but save your money so that you have an ability to pay yourself and pay your bills. You don't want to go into debt, and you don't want to lapse on your bills and ruin your credit. Credit is gold. Do not ruin your credit. It's important. Number four, I had to set up the right incorporation. I had to figure out the kind of one-on-ones. Next week, week 2, which is going to be April 25th, we'll be talking about the one-on-one fundamentals of what you need to do to become incorporated and how you actually go through the infrastructure of starting a business. I had to learn about that. I had to connect with the local Chamber of Commerce, who provided resources and tools and classes for me to attend so that I could learn what is it going to take to start my business. And then number 5, I had to make sure I had a solid network. Who do I know? Who's the low-hanging fruit of people I know that will actually help me in my business, that network? And I had to, number 6, secure at least 1 or 2 people that were behind me that said, hey, if you start your business, I will help you. How can I help you and support you? And I had team members at the time that worked for me for the other company that said, you know, if you were to start your own business, I would come work for you if you got your first project. And I had that lined up. I didn't get to bring them over right away, but I knew that they were in the wings waiting. And number 7, I developed an active marketing plan. I said, okay, here are the 10 or 12 or 20 places I'm going to begin to market and first. And for me, it was about my network. Look at the network I have built in government. Look at the network you've built in your career. Where do you start as that low-hanging fruit? And I ensured that I could, for sure, in the first year, secure at least 1 to 2 clients. And all of this was well thought out. None of it was just frivolously or by the way or just what if. It was well thought out, well planned out. And it was important for me to understand this was my first journey as an entrepreneur, so I wasn't going to take it lightly or do it lightly. So today, 13 years later, as a multi-million-dollar business, we're going through another set of growing pains. So all the good things that were done in the beginning, some of them still work, but guess what? In order to scale and grow to the next level, you have to do things different. And what got me here today is not going to get me there tomorrow. And sometimes looking at those things and recognizing those are super key important. I'll be talking about those later as we go. So, super important that you determine what kind of business you want to start. What do you want to offer? Do you want to offer a service? Do you have a product? Getting things in motion and getting to what I call that pre-planning execution stage before you execute. So you have a plan and you cover your bases. Engaging the right people for counsel, mentors, counsel, lawyers, CPA, people that are going to tell you what you need to do in order to begin it correctly. I was with a business owner a couple of months ago, and it was mind-blowing to me as I was talking to her, trying to coach her around her business. I found out she hadn't had any really expert CPAs or lawyers around her, and I said, you know, you've been in business 8 years. How in the world have you gotten around without the experts? She's like, well, I don't know where to go. And I'm like, you have to know where to go. Do your research and reach out to your friends who are business owners and say, hey, do you have a good CPA? Do you have a good lawyer? Do you have a good person that can help counsel me? And make sure you have those people around you. Leveraging your existing gifts. That's another key factor, is take the gifts that you've built as your career, as a career person, and expand on those and take everything you've learned in order to grow and expand. You don't need more than what you have. If you're truly meant to be an entrepreneur and start a business, leverage from your existing gifts and talents, but recognize that your existing gifts today are not going to get you where you need to go tomorrow, and be willing to expand. So I want to sum up what I've talked about today in week 1, from employee to entrepreneur. Number 1, start with a firm plan. And number 2, engage the people that you trust to give you feedback. Stay agile and nimble and flexible so that you move as things move. Number 3, it's super important to have the right infrastructure. So in weeks 2 through 7, I'm going to be talking about that infrastructure. You'll want to join me for that and give you more meat on the bones for that. Number 4, believe in yourself. Stay the course. Believe in yourself, no matter how difficult it gets, no matter how many brick walls you hit, no matter how many setbacks you have. Believe in yourself. Those early years in business are the most difficult ones. But once you get your stride, it becomes a little easier, not always super easy, but a little easier. So stay the course. And lastly, number 5, remain agile. Agility in business. Be nimble, be flexible, be willing to pivot. Be open to learn new things and hear and listen to counsel. I think that agility is a super important skill to develop in business. I didn't always have agility in my own skill set. I developed it. And I will tell you right now, I developed every single skill I have. So it's possible to go from being an employee to an entrepreneur and grow your capacity in your skill sets. This is what my message is all about, is ensuring that you are constantly growing and learning and advancing. And I hope you've enjoyed our week 1 today, from employee to entrepreneur. It has truly been one of my greatest, most fun things that I've done in my journey. Those of you that know the Lost Girl story know I've reinvented myself numerous times, but this last reinvention from employee to entrepreneur is one that I have just thoroughly enjoyed. I wanted to bring some tips and nuggets from my own practical experience, and I hope you will join me for week 2. Week 2 will be April 25th. I will be providing what I call the one-on-ones, basic fundamentals of what it takes to step out and start your business. The content's available on my website. You can get the content off there. These are free tools. And if you enjoyed this week 1 video, share it out with your social media. And don't forget to join me week 2, April 25th, same time, same place, 12:30 Central. See you then.